This video is focused on your inner critic. What is it? How does it work? And how can you work to move beyond it, especially with regard to a conversation around purpose? Laura, lovely to speak to you.
Thank you.
So talk to me here, what is an inner critic? Is it an actual human living inside your real human? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so it's the chatterbox. It's the 24/7 voice in our heads that it can be really harsh and keep us from basically our greatness. I think, quite frankly, it keeps us from living our purpose fully and wants us, and it's all wrapped in our ego and wants us to stay small. And so the best way to put it is it's a voice we need to understand, welcome, and from the only standpoint of welcoming it, that it's always going to be here, to know how to deal with it.
I love the idea of the opposite of an inner critic, because that's what I want. Like, you know how your mum always loves everything you do? I want an inner mum. How do you do that?
I think we all have to do this for ourselves. You know, this is a place where we have to understand when we are not in that centered place. There's a huge amount of research about when we're in flow. There's a book written about this. And being able to understand when we are in that place where things are just going easily. Do you ever notice there's times where you get so much more work done in a condensed time?
Oh, yeah.
And David Rock's work, Your Brain at Work, does a beautiful job of this as well. He really helps us understand the neuroscience behind it, but makes it very accessible. Doing so helps us understand that our brains are wired in a certain way. And if the more we can understand what our brains are wired to do, AKA be judgmental at times, be in shame, be in fear, be in neutral place as well. If we can help recognize when we are not in a centered place, then what is it that we have to do to get ourselves there? Then we can be that much more powerful so that we can live our purpose more fully.
I've now come up with the name. It's the inner cheerleader. That's who I want.
There you go. So in the back of my book, I talk about my parents being being cheerleaders for me to help me. So it's very poignant, very, very poignant.
So talk to me about some techniques to help you identify the inner critic and arguably move that towards an inner cheerleader that might be of more service to you.
Yeah, Susan Brady did some great work on this, which was helping us recognize our motto. And I mean this from the place of when we are out of center, what is the motto that comes to mind? That, you know, for example, when I go to a place of shame or fear, it might be, I can't believe I just said that. Or
so that's the motto at that point.
Exactly. So it's to recognize when I just said that to myself, that means I am not in center. Inversely, if it's a place where I might go, really? I can't believe you're wearing that jacket. Or something like that.
Thought the jacket was okay. Crew?
It ends up being a place where if I can recognize the really, and it might be ampersand, exclamation point, ... And I can feel my eyebrow raise or something like that. That says it is a trigger for me to know I am not in center. So the first and foremost is to realize when you're not there. So it's awareness. The second is to pause and go, okay, since I'm not in center, let me then be kind to myself and just say, okay, I'm not in a good place right now. It's okay, I can get back there. Kind of like the sledding down in the hills. When we talked about it earlier.
Right, so creating a path always back.
Creating that pathway back to a good pathway down. It's like you can be down at the bottom of the hill and you can get back up there to go down the good path. And then the last one is about being curious. What do I need to say to myself? If I was being my best coach, what would I say to myself to be able to get me back to center? So for instance, a good catch-all in my friend's book, she talks about saying, I am worthy and so are they.
I was just thinking of knock it off.
Well, actually, that's a great one when you are in one up or one down. You can absolutely do that and say, knock it off. Who do you think you are? You are no better than they are. If that works for you, have at it.
Is there a role for meditation in something like this?
Nice. So meditation, I find, works in different ways for different people, and there's no one right way to meditate. There was a book that a colleague of mine wanted me to rewrite with him called Meditation for Type A's. For those of us who can't stop our thinking, and we know that meditation for some of us is about having the information float by us like clouds, you know, and allowing that information to go. You know, the place of a centered place allows those thoughts that are not in center to float by. You know, and enabling going, oh, that's one that's being judgmental. Okay, here it comes and goes. And then you can keep going with the ones. That one is from a shame place. Nope, I don't need that one. There it goes. And you're not getting attached to it. That would be the way I would say it connects
So
to
it can
meditation.
be a relevant technique.
Absolutely.
Let me ask this then. There is a connection between being in that centered place, in a cheerleader, let's say, versus in a critic, and the idea of an exploration of purpose. How are they related?
Oh, you're putting it all together. So I love it. So
I meant to do that.
Yeah.
Wear a bad jacket, put stuff together. That's my...
So this is actually a place where it was funny. When I first read Susan's book about the inner critic, I actually said what we really need is a book called The Inner Sage. And it might be maybe my 6th book, Pocket Guide to Purpose to the Inner Sage, because, okay, so I'm going to do that actually.
From inner critic to inner sage.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Because here's why, is that our wisest self is unique. Our wisest self has wisdom that is like almost like this divinity within each of us. And the question is, are we listening and paying attention to that ability to get tuned in to that voice in us? And that's not a one-up or judgmental, nor is it being one down in shame. That is when we are in flow and in a centered, compassionate place where our divinity can really come to its fullest. And what I mean by that is where we can really live our purpose in a very powerful way. Because then it's no longer us being critical of ourselves or others. It's about doing something that has greater lift and ability to bring up everyone in a way that can make amazing things happen. And I really believe that our corporations have the best ways to be able to do that. It's going to be the way that's going to save our planet, is through companies.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So all those CEOs out there, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your insight here. For those of you who'd like to find out more, please visit us online at purposestone.com. Also, feel free to like this video, share this video if you have any questions in the comments section below, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel.